Ground beef is a staple in countless classic meals, but not every dish has made it through to modern times. So today, we're revisiting a few once popular ground beef recipes that might have disappeared before you ever got the chance to try them. Back in the 1960s, grape jelly meatballs were a go-to dish at celebrations like baby showers and birthday parties. These days, you might still spot them occasionally, but their moment in the spotlight has mostly passed. At first glance, grape jelly meatballs might sound a bit odd, but when you think about it, pairing savory beef with a sweet, sticky jelly isn't that unusual. Plus, their small, shareable size makes them perfect for feeding a crowd. The name pretty much tells you everything you need to know. They're basic meatballs simmered in a sauce made from grape jelly and barbecue sauce. They're often cooked in a slow cooker, which is ideal for gatherings since it keeps things simple to prep, serve, and transport. When it's time to dig in, just place a bowl of toothpicks nearby and you've got a low-effort, crowd-pleasing appetizer ready to go for your next get-together. Cabbage rolls are a classic, comforting way to sneak more greens into your meals. But outside of Eastern Europe, they're becoming a bit of a rarity. In some places, they're even known as pigs in a blanket, though they're definitely a step up, nutrition-wise, from the dough-wrapped mini hot dogs that name might bring to mind.
Yeah, I pretty much walked into that one.
In the US, cabbage rolls are typically made by wrapping cabbage leaves around a filling of ground beef, pork, or a combination of the two. The mix usually includes rice or another grain, along with onions and seasonings, though you'll find all sorts of regional twists on the classic. Some recipes call for a rich tomato-based sauce poured over the top, while others skip the sauce entirely and serve the rolls over a bed of tangy sauerkraut instead. And if you're after something a bit creamier, there are also versions that incorporate sour cream into the sauce for extra richness. The best part? You probably already have most of what you need to make them at home. Ground meat, rice, onions, and cabbage are all pretty common pantry or fridge staples. After that, all it takes is a few toothpicks to hold the rolls together, a pot for boiling, and if you're going all in, a generous scoop of mashed potatoes on the side. While still a favorite in certain parts of the world, Picadillo remains one of the most underrated dishes from Latin America and the Philippines. And if you've never tried it, you're seriously missing out. In the world of ground beef recipes, Picadillo stands out for its bold, unexpected flavors. It's a comforting mix of sweet and savory, built with ingredients you don't usually see together. Think about it. When's the last time you had raisins and green olives in the same dish? That's part of what makes Picadillo so unique. Some variations swap the olives for capers, but either way, you need that briny note to balance everything out. It's a big part of what made the dish such a staple to begin with. At its core, Picadillo starts with a classic sofrito base.
About a half a cup of chopped onions, peppers. You're going to put in some garlic powder, some sazon completa.
Many dishes use a similar base with ground beef, but it's the sweet raisins paired with the tangy olives that really elevate Picadillo to a whole new flavor experience. Some recipes even add a splash of white wine for extra depth, and it's traditionally served over white rice, often accompanied by black beans. Feeling adventurous? Picadillo also makes an incredible filling for empanadas, turning it into a more sophisticated and delicious treat. Sloppy Joes might not be fading away anytime soon, but since different regions give them different names, they don't always pop up in everyday chats. Legend has it that author Ernest Hemingway introduced Sloppy Joes to the US after discovering them in Cuba, which makes sense, since the ground beef filling isn't all that different from Picadillo. Wherever they originated, Sloppy Joes have stood the test of time, and whipping them up at home couldn't be easier. You can even find pre-made Sloppy Joe sauce at the store to just mix with your ground beef. But if you want to go homemade, the sauce usually comes together with ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, brown sugar, chili powder, and a splash of hot sauce for some heat. Mix that with your beef, slap it on a hamburger bun, and you've got a classic no-fuss meal that's been a staple for nearly 100 years. Since bell peppers are basically edible bowls, it's tough to imagine stuffed peppers ever going out of style. Luckily, the ingredients you need to make them at home are still easy to find. Recipes for stuffed peppers change from kitchen to kitchen, but the core concept stays the same. Begin by slicing off the top of a pepper.
Clean out the insides. You want to try to take out the seeds for sure, and then any of the white part.
Next, you fill that hollowed out pepper with ground beef and other ingredients. Top it with cheese and sometimes tomato sauce. Then bake it until the pepper softens to perfection. Well-seasoned ground beef makes a solid foundation for the filling, and adding rice or extra veggies can make it even heartier. Many people like to give their stuffed peppers a Mexican twist, stuffing them with Spanish rice and beans and finishing with a sharp cheddar topping. On the flip side, you can go Italian by using store-bought tomato sauce and a sprinkle of Parmesan. No matter what flavor direction you choose, the mix of savory filling and the natural sweetness of the pepper is tough to beat. They're just as comforting on a chilly winter evening as they are enjoyed outdoors on a warm summer night. And while stuffed peppers shine on their own, don't hesitate to serve them alongside creamy mashed potatoes. It's a pairing that perfectly complements both the filling and the sauce. For years, spoon tacos were a go-to favorite at campsites, tailgate parties, and busy family dinners. And honestly, they still have what it takes to please both kids and grown-ups alike. It's one of those meals known by a handful of different names.
Randy, Heather, Channing, Brianna, Amber, Sabrina, Melody, Dakota, Sierra, Bambi, Crystal, Samantha, Autumn, Ruby.
Okay, maybe not that many names, but dishes like Frito pie or walking tacos are basically variations on the same idea, and they're all designed for easy eating on the move. If you haven't had one before, it's essentially taco-seasoned beef spooned over corn chips, then covered in melted cheese. Beyond the spiced ground beef, though, there's a lot of room to mix things up. With all the different tortilla chip flavors out there now, you can really customize it, and cheese doesn't have to be the only thing going on top. Classic taco add-ons like chopped onions, sour cream, or even salsa work just as well here as they do in a taco shell. Another bonus? They're incredibly simple to serve. Set out the ingredients buffet style and let people build their own, or layer chips, meat, and cheese in a big dish for a more shareable version. Want it extra gooey? Assemble it in a baking dish and pop it in the oven to melt everything together. In the mood for a burger but don't want the hassle? Few ground beef dishes feel more nostalgic than hamburger casserole. Even if you've never tried it, the name alone instantly brings to mind a 1950s weeknight dinner in a quiet suburban kitchen. At its core, hamburger casserole combines ground beef, melted cheese, and some type of pasta, and the result is total comfort food. It's simple, kid-friendly, and comes together fast. Plus, with its hearty mix of beef and cheese, it's a solid option for anyone sticking to a high-protein plan. One of the best things about it? It's practical. Need something for a potluck or party? You can prep the entire dish in advance and just toss it in the oven before heading out. There's also room to personalize it. Try swapping in a unique pasta shape or experimenting with different spices to make it your own. Besides the essentials, meat, cheese, and pasta, you don't need much to make this dish sing. Tossing in veggies like onions, bell peppers, or garlic can really elevate the flavor. And adding tomato sauce, beef broth, or Worcestershire sauce helps keep everything nice and moist. Put it all together, and you've got the ultimate cozy dinner, especially when the weather turns chilly. Okay, we'll admit, shepherd's pie isn't exactly a lost recipe, but it's such a classic comfort food that we think it more than deserves an honorable mention. This dish checks all the boxes: savory meat, tender veggies, rich gravy, and a fluffy layer of mashed potatoes on top. The term pie is used pretty loosely here. There's usually no crust involved, and definitely no fruit in sight. The upside? It's way easier to throw together than your typical dessert pie, especially if you've got leftover or frozen mashed potatoes on hand. Another plus? It's super forgiving when it comes to tools. No giant casserole dish? No problem. Just make mini versions and ramekins. Got a bag of frozen vegetables you've been meaning to use up? Toss them in. However you make it, shepherd's pie is essentially a full meal in one dish, which means you can skip the sides entirely. And if you're the creative type, it's the perfect base to experiment with.
And you can do rosemary in it if you want. You can put thyme, you can put garlic, just kind of whatever floats your boat.
You can absolutely stick with the classic combo of meat, potatoes, gravy, and vegetables. It's a solid foundation. But if you're feeling adventurous, there's plenty of room to add your own spin. Honestly, the toughest part of making shepherd's pie isn't the prep. It's holding out while your kitchen fills with that amazing savory aroma. But don't worry, those crispy, golden mashed potatoes on top are always worth the wait. Almost everyone's tried canned beefaroni at some point, and if we're honest, it usually inspires this kind of reaction.
Beefaroni, Chef Boyardee.
Oh, cool.
Sure, most of us have tasted canned beefaroni at some point, and it usually doesn't leave a great impression. But beefaroni doesn't have to end there. Making it from scratch takes a little extra effort. but the cheesy, meaty payoff is well worth it. What's great about homemade beefaroni is that it still has that crowd-pleasing appeal of the canned version. Put a plate in front of a kid, and it'll disappear in no time. This comforting pasta dish comes together by cooking ground beef and onions until tender, then mixing in a rich tomato sauce, sharp or medium cheddar, and classic macaroni noodles. Don't forget a sprinkle of Italian seasoning to round out the flavors. The quality of each ingredient really makes a difference here. You can always use pre-shredded cheese, but freshly grating a block gives you a creamier, better melt. And while macaroni is the traditional choice, other short pasta shapes like cavatappi or farfalle work beautifully too. Despite sounding a bit fancy, Salisbury steak is actually a lot more down-to-earth than the name suggests. Basically, it's just a hamburger patty without a bun, drenched in savory gravy, often with mushrooms. It's delicious in its own way, but it helps to know what you're ordering so you're not expecting a juicy, traditional steak. Though Salisbury steak has never really disappeared, it's included here because its prime time was well over 100 years ago. The dish gained popularity in New York City after German immigrants brought their version in the late 1800s. Then Dr. James Henry Salisbury adapted it as a health-conscious meal, which is how it got its name. Through the decades, Salisbury steak became a classic cafeteria favorite, and even took center stage in those iconic TV dinners of the 1950s. While it's often paired with mashed potatoes, it's just as tasty alongside rice, wide egg noodles, or steamed vegetables. Regardless of the sides, Salisbury steak is a quick, comforting choice for any weeknight meal. Don't let its vintage roots fool you. Midwesterners might bristle seeing tater tot casserole labeled as old-fashioned, but honestly, the rest of the world needs to discover this gem. Tater tot casserole is a crowd pleaser that's almost impossible to say no to, and it all comes together in just one pan. Known as tater tot hot dish in the Midwest, this dish basically layers ground beef, cheese, and crispy tater tots before baking it all to cheesy perfection. Sure, the basics are simple and tasty, but the best part is how much you can customize and make it your own.
A hot dish, all the food groups, tater tots, cream of mushroom soup, a protein, cheese.
Adding green beans is a simple trick to sneak some veggies into the dish that even picky kids might enjoy. You can also toss in frozen peas or corn for extra variety. And for a pop of color, a sprinkle of fresh parsley right out of the oven does the trick. Tater tot casserole is one of those rare meals that serves as both the main course and the side, making it a total win for home cooks. Less prep, less cleanup, just one dish to make and probably only one pan to wash afterward.